It's time for our daily dose of Cope, and we have Panthero Blackstone at the anchor's desk for the Leopards News Network. We have a serious anchor for serious times. Now let's jump into these serious stories. Did y'all know that there was an OF model that's a MAGA fan? So she had this tagline, "Tits for Trump." Wow, okay. She flashed her boobs at a Trump rally. This happened. I looked this up. Why am I posting this? Because this was posted in the leopards-ate-my-face. OF creators find out that the GOP considers the TIPS payment system for their work to be not only a moral failing, but also taxable. For no tax on tips, the IRS gets intimate. The Trump administration wants to exclude earnings from corn activity from the new tax breaks for tips. Will the IRS know it when it sees it? Trump's promise for no tax on tips has raised important practical questions for the IRS. What is the exact definition of a tip? Who typically receives them? Are photos of bare feet a type of corn? Maybe we should back up. A sweeping tax cut that Republicans passed this summer created a new tax deduction for tips. While the tax break does not exempt tips from taxes entirely, it's still an incentive for people to earn more of them. To avoid any economy-wide shift of earnings into tips, the IRS and Treasury have had to impose some limits. Only people who work jobs that have customarily and regularly received tips can claim the deduction. So putting that in such a narrow category would obviously impact OF creators. It says the exclusion came as a disappointment to people who post actually explicit or even just sensual content on platforms like OF, where users can leave tips. Performers in the adult entertainment industry already face difficulties accessing basic financial services, and the IRS rules seem like another example of America's hostile public attitude towards a type of work that, at least privately, is widely consumed. In 2024, there were more than 4.6 million creator accounts on OF and more than 377 million fan accounts, according to public disclosures by the site's parent company. Skipping down a little bit, this number is mind-boggling to me. It says Macy Hilt makes what she describes as fully explicit corn content on her OF page. The 24-year-old says she makes roughly $2 million a year, with about 5% of her earnings coming in the form of tips. While that means she makes too much money for the tips deduction, she still finds the exclusion of earnings of corn activity discriminatory and, in all likelihood, unenforceable. I've made a lot of money and a lot of tips based off of just a foot picture. Making $2 million, that is wild to me. But I'm just putting this out there. I found this to be interesting, and I'm sure that some people are going to run up on this, not me, because $2 million a year, whoo. All right, let's move on to this Facebook post. So this person says, "Let me start by saying I voted for Trump. He was the best option on the ballot. I didn't agree with all his ideas, but overall, I was hoping he would be a vast improvement over the past administration. In a lot of ways, I think he has been. However, this hell-bent notion of deporting all illegal aliens is wrong in my opinion. Yes, there are many bad illegal immigrants here, and they need to be deported. I'm all for it. That is the exception, not the norm. I'm a 67-year-old white small business owner. We are a concrete construction company. I have Hispanic finishers and carpenters that have worked for me for years. A couple for over 20 years. They are not employees to me. They are family. There is nothing I wouldn't do for them. They are honest, hardworking, dependable guys who exceed expectations. They care, take pride in what they do. A couple of them have their sons help on occasions. They don't even have family in Mexico now. If they were to get deported, they would have nowhere to go or family." So he knew all of this. He knew all of this about these supposed family members, but he still voted for the person that said, yes, bloody mass deportation. If you've never been to Mexico, before you judge these people, you need to experience Mexico for yourself. These people come from poverty. backbreaking work for about $70 a week. That's one reason the drug cartel runs the country. They risk their lives to get to the USA. It costs them $8,000 to $10,000 to get here. I had one guy who, when the border control caught the coyote or guide was found by a cartel member, he had to call the people he knew here in the States, or he would have ended up in one of those barrels at the compound, come up with $4,000, or be melted in a barrel of acid. I realize the majority of people don't get it or probably care. This is not what America should be about. Shame on Trump and anyone who thinks this is the right thing to do. It breaks my heart to see these fine families getting separated and having to live in fear here, when all they want is to make an honest living. They don't live extravagant lives because they send money to help their parents and loved ones get by, so they don't have to work for the cartel. This is what they voted for. There are people that are championing this, that are like waving these signs for mass deportation now, bloody mass deportation now. And y'all know I just like to zoom in on this woman's face for no particular reason. Now we need to talk about this. This is pretty interesting to me. Republican mayor faces deportation over voter fraud charges. You know they're supposed to be tough on voter fraud, and also they're supposed to be deporting everyone. Well, at least deporting the illegals. Now, this is crazy because this is an undocumented person, but he's also a mayor and he was voting. So what are they going to do about this? All right, so let's get into the article. It says the mayor of a small town in Kansas risked being deported over allegations that he voted in American elections illegally. Jose Ceballos, who has served as the mayor of Coldwater, Kansas since 2021, and is a registered Republican according to records, has been accused by the Kansas Attorney General of voting in elections despite not being a U.S. citizen. The Department of Homeland Security said if convicted, he will be placed in removal proceedings. Newsweek contacted the Coldwater Mayor's office for comment by email outside of normal business hours. Why it matters. The accusation against Ceballos places the Republican at the intersection of two key GOP issues. Trump and the Republican Party have framed voter fraud as a widespread issue in the United States election, despite evidence to the contrary. Trump, without evidence, has contested the results of the 2020 presidential election and promised to root out instances of fraud. Since returning to office in January, Trump has made immigration enforcement a central pillar of his presidency, vowing to crack down on border security, carry out mass deportations, and end federal benefits for people entering the country illegally. According to DHS, Ceballos is from Mexico. He received a green card in 1990 and applied for U.S. citizenship in February 2025. The agency said he claimed to be a U.S. citizen on other forms. Ceballos told the Wichita Eagle that he had probably voted for Trump 3 times and always voted for all the Republicans. He said he had voted in every election since 1991 and that he thought his permanent residency made him a citizen. According to the Washington Post, citing the Comanche County Clerk's Office, Ceballos has been a registered Republican since 2020. Newsweek contacted the Comanche County Clerk's Office for comment by email outside of normal business hours. As outlined in court documents, Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach charged Ceballos with 3 counts of voting without being qualified and 3 counts of election perjury for the elections in November 22, November 2023, and August 2024. Now, if he had been a black woman, remember there have been instances of black people, black women, actually having to serve time. This man is going to have to be deported. He's going to have to be. He is a Republican and a mayor, and he's brown. He's going to have to go. Now, finally, let's end in coal country. Deeply demoralizing how Trump derailed coal country's clean energy revival. Biden earmarked billions for former coal communities in Appalachia, and his successor came and took it away. Not doing this whole article, but it says, regardless of who's in power, there's a lot of finger pointing. While life gets worse for the common people and the oligarch class keep winning, says Orville Overton, 34, a local business owner and a member of the Residents' Council. I don't think people know who or what to trust because both political parties have failed us in big ways. This is one of the areas that was flooded over the past summer. About 60 miles east, Dante, a sparsely populated former integrated mining community that was once the second largest in Russell County, suffers frequent power outages, including a 4-day blackout during a major flood in July and 9 days after Hurricane Helene in August 2024. Dante's share of the terminated EPA grant was tagged for a feasibility study on the old railway depot, once the hub of mining operations and the whole town. This is the first step needed to convert the depot into a resilience hub with solar panels and battery storage, a place for residents to charge their phones and keep medication refrigerated during the next blackout. The post office has been closed since July due to flood damage. The only place still open for business in Dante is the volunteer-run Mining Museum. Dante is also currently without a fire station after nearly $400,000 appropriated by Congress to replace the one demolished due to subsistence was rescinded by the Trump administration. These are not frivolous things. These are basic services. And when you work hard for 2 or 3 years to secure federal funds, you expect it to be delivered, said Luann Wallace, Dante's representative on the Republican-controlled Russell County Board of Supervisors. I don't think the president knew. I'm one of his biggest supporters, but we're dealing with the ills of industry here, and we've got to be able to clean this up so our people in these hollers can have a quality of life. Trump won 83% of the vote in Russell County in 2024, while Winston Earl Sears, the Republican candidate for governor, secured 81% last month. Many of his policies, many of his executive orders, lots of the cuts of grants and everything that the Republicans did and Trump did will hurt his own constituents. But this is what they voted for. They are finding out that they are the waste, fraud, and abuse that Doge was supposed to be cutting out. This picture in the article made me chuckle. She looks so excited to be meeting him. I had to laugh. Y'all needed to see this. Y'all let me know what you think of this one.
While I am super excited for that thing we all want to happen to finally happen, if you know, you know, I am kind of worried about being outside of my house when it does. Because you already know that there's going to be people hooting and hollering for joy when it happens. But what I'm worried about is the people who are angry about this watching us celebrate. Like, imagine you're in the middle of a public parking lot and you read the news on your phone and you just start jumping for joy. The person in the car next to you is jumping for joy, but then the person in the car over is just glaring. And you don't know what they have in their car. Because his fan base is insane. Like, we all know this, we've all witnessed it, and I am just worried about their collective reaction to seeing our reactions. And don't get me wrong, I ain't gonna let it stop my joy, but I just hope I'm in my house near my grill because, you know, I'm gonna throw something on it. I don't know. I picture that day and I'm like, it's gonna be chaos. Beautiful chaos, but chaos.